Is this thing on? Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. A very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button and the share button. And please do follow me on Twitter at MoviesTVMad. I follow a lot of high-profile Manchester United commentators and pundits and fan channels. So when I talk about what I'm about to talk about, I'm not talking about one specific commentator or one specific fan channel. I want to tell you what they say collectively. And I'm starting to find it a little bit suspicious. They tell us to support Oles, whether we believe in him or not. They tell us if we don't support Oles, then we're giving the Glazers and Woodward exactly what they want. And out. They then tell us all these bad things about the way Woodward and the Glazers are running the club. But then they say, don't bother hashtagging Glazers out. No point, they tell us. Don't stop buying the merch. No point, they tell us. No point doing demonstrations. Nothing. So can I ask you, all of you, the commentators, the fan channels, if you think us, creating events and trying to get these people out is pointless, then why bore on about them all the time? Is it just a conversation to you? Doesn't it matter? Now, thankfully, I'm a free-thinking human being, and despite the respect I have for high-profile commentators and all the fan channels that I subscribe to, and I do, a lot of respect for them, they do a great job, they're relentless, they're ruthless, they're there, giving us information and giving us content all the time, and I respect that. But I'm not someone who's heard the Pied Piper of Hamlet plays flute, and I'm not just going to follow. I have my own views and thoughts about Manchester United, and I have from the first day I fell in love with this club when we drew 0-0 to West Ham and we lost the league. We surrendered the league to Blackburn. My thoughts are this, that these owners and this chief executive have got one major facet wrong, the most important facet, and that's the manager of the club. Now, I will never blame Moyes on Woodward. Never. That was totally on Fergie. He wanted a puppet to control. He wanted Moyes to be his way into being connected to the club and being able to control the club in his way. It didn't work. I believe that Moyes was a good coach then and an even better coach now. We're seeing that with what he's doing at West Ham. He was intimidated initially by the size of Manchester United. He definitely needed time. He definitely made mistakes by, blowing off all the coaches that Fergie had and bringing his own coaches in. And I agree, people do bring their own people in. It just didn't work because he took away what Manchester United was. It was always going to be difficult for him. I personally think that if we gave him a couple of years, maybe, just maybe, the thing is with Moyes, he has the tool to run a team and make it successful in with little injection of cash. We saw that at Everton. If it wasn't for him, Everton would have been in the lower leagues and probably would have been bankrupt. He kept Everton afloat. He was sensational at Everton. So even though when I heard it was him or Mourinho, I wanted Mourinho because I believed Mourinho could win us trophies and he could not bring flair to the team. We know that's not what Mourinho does. But certainly he could bring something that Moyes couldn't. Ultimately, Moyes was just a victim, as far as I'm concerned. Then they bring in LVG. We were all very happy at the time because he did really well with the Dutch international team. But he was the wrong appointment, and if just a little bit of research from Ed would have shown that he was a lunatic and not worth taking the risk on. And even with Mourinho, you don't need research. Everyone in football knows who Jose is. Confrontational character, someone who really wants to win and get their own way with all facets and all angles. It was always going to end in tears, wasn't it? Couple of trophies at least. He did have a moderate success at United, and we mustn't take that away from him, as Van Gaal did with the FA Cup and the way he got us to play. But ultimately, we couldn't sustain the madness that was inside Van Gaal. So these are all bad choices, really, because ultimately Moyes was a work in progress. And now, look, listen. We've got Oles now. Oles is one of the worst decisions I've ever seen a chief executive make. I've never seen such terrible decision in appointing a manager. The manager is the most important cog in your machinery. He's more important than your owners. Your owners and their mentality is important. but they're not as important as the club manager. The club manager can make bad football owners look good. And Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to make anyone look good. This is a guy who loves the club. This is a guy who was a legend for the club. I loved him as a player, but this is not a manager. This is maybe a coach. Maybe he could, coach the kids or something. But in terms of him being the front and centre of the club, it was a ridiculous decision. I understand when they got rid of Mourinho, it was mid-season. They needed someone to come in. And it was great, and the players reacted well to him. But he should never have been made full-time manager. This was the biggest mistake I have ever seen. And it was a mistake. But he's there. And I'm being told, after all the blatant mistakes he's made, with poor purchases, like Dirty Harry Maguire, right? He hasn't played well in a United shirt. That's the most embarrassing thing. Harry Maguire hasn't ever played well in the Manchester United shirt. Maybe 1 or 2 games, right? Someone can dig out and put in the comments below. Fine, you're all entitled to your opinions. But my opinion is that this is a mistake and we need to rectify that mistake as soon as possible. As soon as the Greece incident happened, he should have been stripped of the captaincy straight away. He should have been stripped of the captaincy and benched immediately. And Bailey and Lindelof should have come in. Now, I don't know if Bailey was ready from the beginning of the season. Maybe he wasn't. But there's other options. The point being that Maguire isn't what we thought he was. Ole made a mistake. Now, in terms of Daniel James, I personally don't think any other manager would have signed Daniel James, but Ole did. And Daniel James played really well last season, unlike Maguire. So he deserves to remain at the club. I never liked the noises I heard about him being swapped or sold just after a year of him being purchased. This guy's run his little heart out, and you're going to kick him out? That's not the way gentlemen act. I'm sorry. Basically, Daniel James deserves more time. And if he can't... Basically, this guy can come off the bench and have some pace at least. He can do everything that Ole did when he used to come on as a sub, right? He can be dangerous. So I don't think it's fair just to dump him from the club. Who are you going to get to be on the bench instead of him? It doesn't make sense why you would sell Daniel James. He may not be an efficient first teamer, but he certainly can do a job as a substitute. And this is coming from someone who's never played the game, never played on a Sunday. You get all these people saying, well, I played the game, I get it. Well, I haven't played the game. I'm just talking from logic. I'm coming from a logical narrative, from watching the game. But I don't have an expert kind of oversight on the game, just my opinions. I think that's fair enough. I think just because you haven't played the game, and there's also, you get this with a lot of people as well on the internet where they say, well, you're obviously playing too much FIFA or something like that. I don't think I'm playing too much FIFA. I think the point being is I have opinions, I watch the game, and I can see that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a poor manager and no other club will touch him. And all of you high-profile people talking about the game are contradicting yourselves. You're telling me, A, we should back Ole. B, he's not a very good coach and he makes mistake after mistake after mistake. You can't have it both ways. He's either a good manager who deserves patience, or he's an ineffective, mediocre, moderate manager who should be booted out of the club immediately. I think he should be booted out of the club immediately. I'm worried about relegation. I was worried about relegation last season because, surprise, surprise, we had a horrible start to the season last year and a strong second half, and we've had a crap start to the season again. It's happening again, but worse. And frighteningly with the goals we were conceding. I think Ole's kind of defensive record has been quite good before this season, I think. Someone can, again, sit me down on that. I don't know what's happened. Well, I do. It's obvious the problem is Maguire. The problem also is in the centre of midfield, where he either plays too many defensive midfielders or not enough. What you need is someone like Matic to sit in there, or Fred, alongside Pogba a little bit further forward. You see, when you've got someone like Fred, a tough guy like that, he can keep the ball, he can get the ball back. That's all you need him to do. You don't need him to be a fancy Dan, and Fred can do that, and so can Matic, right? But you can't have both of them playing. That doesn't work. You need one central defensive midfielder. We've got two of them at the club, and then Pogba running forward, right? You see, this is the problem I have with the way he's been used by Jose and Solskjaer, right, by Ole. But basically, I don't believe Pogba should ever have to come back and defend. He's got the engine, but it's not, you're taking away something that the team can benefit from. He should just be forward, going forward, scoring goals, setting people up. We know when you play him in the right position, in the right way, he does that. But everyone denies it. And I mean, I read an article from someone saying, Manchester United are killing Pogba. Now, this is the same person saying that we should stick with Ole, and it's the board. It isn't the board who are creating the tactics. And also something else the high-profile people talk about. They say, they go, when you say that Ole's got no tactics, that's wrong. Everyone's got tactics. Yes, we know everyone has tactics. But do you understand what they're attempting to say? They're attempting to say, when they say he's no tactics, that his tactics are crap. They just don't know a way to kind of say it, right? So it's no good trying to use that old blarney. This manager, we all know it. This is another long line of bad managerial appointments. If you want to attack the board and the Glazers, you attack them over that. And then we go back to the kind of situation where yesterday, is it Fabrizio Romano? Is that what his name is? Kind of the transfer guru that everyone thinks is God. He was saying in a podcast that we didn't get any of Ole's kind of targets. And I looked at the targets, Sancho, Grealish, and somebody else. How can you... Listen, I think Grealish was about 50 million. So you're telling me that you expected Manchester United to buy a £120 million player, and then on top of that, another 50 million and another target as well, which would have taken him 200 million or well over that. Really? In the middle of a pandemic where they can't even have spectators? Now, I don't like or buy the COVID excuse, don't get me wrong. But I also don't buy the fact that we as fans should expect the football club to spend over £200 million on this guy's targets, right? If you want Sancho, get Sancho and nobody else. And that's the problem the club had. In fact, after all the criticism of Ed and the Glazers, they're the logical ones because they're saying, hang on a minute, Ole, we can't sign Sancho and get you the other players that you want. It's not logistically and business-wise, it doesn't make sense. We're going to destroy ourselves. They were right. And at least the way they wanted to do it, at least we got 3 players in, right? What do you think? I don't know. I think the left-back will do a great job. I think the striker will do a great job. Apparently, he might not be able to play against Newcastle, but he'll be able to play against PSG in the next game. I can live with that. I think he may actually be able to play with Newcastle. It's just kind of media and paper talk. We'll see. So I'm happy with the acquisitions we made. Do Manchester United need a lot of players in the first team and in the squad? Yes, we do. But we can't just go out and spend over 200 million. And I'll say it again. Things like, Manchester United fans won't want to hear this. But apparently, headlines like, Sancho now would rather go to Liverpool than Manchester United. Ha, 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 ha. Are you fucking joking me? Liverpool would never spend over 100 million, 120 million on this one player. They don't have to. They've got the players. They don't need to. They bought, again, sensibly. And they haven't really spent over the odds either. They've added to their squad, but not gone mad, right? They're going to win the league again, right? The 7-2 thing is mystifying. I don't know what happened. You can't accept that. No team in Liverpool's position should be losing 7-2. But our result is worse than this because we were at Old Trafford, where that should be a fortress. No way. Even with 10 men, we shouldn't be allowing anyone, never mind an average Spurs side, to do that. But we did. So we can't be looking at Liverpool and laughing at them. But I will laugh at that Liverpool would even think of getting Sancho for 120 million. Never. There was only one club that ever considered it. And even us, with our reputation, with bad buys and bad decisions, didn't do the dumb thing of spending £120 million on one player when we're desperate for a centre-back, even though we've already wasted 80 million on the wrong centre-back, right? There are issues at Manchester United. But I believe that a lot of clubs are exactly not run the right way. I think Manchester United cannot carry on having a chief executive making footballing decisions. And I don't know why they insist on this. It's bad. But I think with the right manager, making the decisions, being able to run the team successfully on a lower budget than some bigger clubs, and there are managers out there that can do that, can cover up the situation going on behind the scenes. It's where we are now. But we need a long-term manager. Someone who's good, not just cheap. We need good and cheap. We need someone who can build a team not using a lot of money. We certainly bought a hell of a lot of young players who will be great in the future. And I'll leave you with this thought. Footballers are like soldiers. They take orders. They follow instructions. But even soldiers, when they're asked to stand in a position where they may cause friendly fire, start doubting those orders. Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with more videos. See you again soon.